So, yes, the Smorgasbord starts here. Not a weekend, just a smorgasbord. Or however you pronounce it. Either way, let's get through this because we got a lot to go through. So, first up, Batman Arkham Knight. They've been putting more and more stuff about it. The new trailer having one of the Twilight people being Barbara Gordon, which, depending how you feel on Twilight, is going to be, oh god. Kevin Conroy being excellent as Batman and everything. And can't remember who else is in the trailer, but they're doing a very good thing of getting people excited for it. But then they decided to drop the news sort of during the weekend, a week or so ago, that there is going to be a Batman Season Pass. Only problem is this Season Pass is practically $40 or £33 for here in the UK where I am. So that means that what was a $60, £45 game now is going to be near double the price to get the authentic experience. I think just that price is putting it up a bit too much. Admittedly, there is stuff in there. You've got the Season of Infamy with Batman and new story missions. Then you've got Gotham City Stories, which is Batman allies from before and after the events of whatever happens in Arkham Knight. Differently themed Batmobiles on custom-built racetracks, which is like, is this a feature? You trying to make the most out of we've got a Batmobile now by just giving you all the Batmobiles that have sort of ever existed and sort of doing like a Ridge Racer thing? Okay. And then challenge maps, character skins and all that. And then also Batgirl, A Matter of Family, which is you play as Batgirl, is a prequel story expansion in a new location, and as has been revealed, Barbara Gordon was Batgirl. So that practically means somebody's breaking her neck, which leads her to be Oracle in the wheelchair. We'll have to find out. Now that's all well and good, but the twist is it's still not clear yet, despite the fact the game is coming out in about 6 weeks, let's say. It's still not clear what is actually going on with the collector's editions. Because the collector's editions that have been announced don't seem to include this season pass in them. And that's a major gripe. I'm just going to have a look on Amazon, see if I can search it out and to see whether the season pass in there. Whether it's sort of mysteriously been added from out of nowhere, which it might have been. But if it isn't, then I better check before I actually say anything. There's the season pass. Amazon exclusive limited edition. Collector's edition. Yeah, I might as well have a look at the... Oh, currently unavailable. Well, that's useful. Thanks for that. PS4 and Xbox One. That's all there actually want to say. That's not entirely useful. Let me just have a look at this. With playable Harley Quinn add-on DLC. What else is supposed to be in it? Season Pass? Hang on. Does it list the features? It features a comic book, a statue, an art book, game disc, and a steelbook case. So yeah, your special editions with figurines and everything, whether they be Amazon exclusives or gaming exclusives or GameStop exclusives and whatever, you have to buy the season pass on top of that. Normally when you buy a collector's edition bundle, that's included. And if it was that situation for the game, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If the collector's edition did have this bundled in, I'd say, it's still a bit pricey, but it's okay because those people that do want to get the fancier edition are getting somewhat of a saving because they're getting all the stuff plus the season pass for around the same money. The fact that people are having to pay, I don't know, £100, somewhere in that region, you know, $120 for a special edition, and then have to spend another $40 on top of it, is ludicrous, in my opinion. This sort of thing isn't the way it should be working out. It needs to be much simpler. So, next on the docket, good old Konami. You know, since the last video, Silent Hills is now officially dead, at least in terms of a Konami and Norman Reedus and Guillermo del Toro combination. They are working, apparently, they are working to create another Silent Hill game. I don't know how they're going to match it up with PT. And of course, speaking of that, PT demo has now been pulled off the PlayStation Store. And those of you that downloaded it but deleted it off, you can't get it back because it's officially gone. Which has led to consoles with the demo on now being sold on eBay for hundreds and thousands of dollars. Except Konami is now telling eBay to stop those items being sold on their website. That's just flagrantly, I think, entirely wrong. You know, you put a product out there, just because you want it pulled from all existence, because you want to deny it exists, doesn't mean that you absolutely can. I personally feel. It's like Konami really just wants to whitewash everything and not let you out there want to get the experience that you can do, even if it is only a demo, which is nothing like the game, which isn't even going to exist. And Konami really proving themselves to be quite at least on the Japanese side, quite stupid in their actions, I would say. Because looking at it, Konami, all they have at the minute is Metal Gear, which, okay, they're going to keep making, but if the next one comes out that we know isn't going to be by Hideo Kojima, and it turns out to be absolutely rubbish, guess who's going to get it in the neck? Not Kojima, because he's not there. It's the publishers that did it. Look what they did to Silent Hill. You know, they brought out 3 Silent Hill games, I believe in 2010, within a month of each other. Like Silent Hill on the Vita, Silent Hill Homecoming, I think, which was for quite a few consoles, and then the HD collection. You know, rather than let them stand together on their own, no, we'll bring them out in one go. Really make them sick of it. Pro Evolution Soccer. You know, at one point, it was like that and that with FIFA. It was neck and neck. Review scores, sales, everything. You know, both games were loved. And just all of a sudden, Konami, even with the Fox engine, which is an incredible engine, which again, Konami, so that ain't going to happen, Konami has just dropped into insignificance. Mainly because, you know, previously they were releasing the Pro Evolution Soccer games in or around the right time, which is early September, at the same time FIFA did, to cash into the fact that the soccer season in most of Europe, where obviously they were selling a lot of the games, and also I think in Japan, where it's obviously brought out as winning league, their seasons start or finish around then, so it ties in pretty much perfectly. In fact, I think, not to be sure off the top of my head, but that's also towards the end of the Major League Soccer season, so it ties in. This last year, they decided to release it in November, which is a bit of an issue. Also, I think because... Actually, I don't know if it was last year's or the one before, but when everybody was going next gen, they were staying current gen. They weren't releasing on the next gen consoles. So immediately, FIFA had a huge advantage in that sense. Yeah, they had the engine, they had the graphics. Okay, it's sort of gone wrong half the time, but it's just... I don't know. You got that. Supposedly there might be a new Castlevania being announced soon, but I wouldn't get my hopes up from that because Lords of Shadow 2 was not that good a sequel to the original one, which coincidentally was Hideo Kojima. You see the connection here, Konami. You take a very good director who may be, you know, pretentious in some people's eyes because, you know, he's wanting to have his name on everything and, you know, stating, "Oh well, it's my it's my project. It should be mine. No, I need to get full credit." You don't sort of handcuff him and say no. It's like DreamWorks going to Steven Spielberg whenever he does. I think the next film he's doing is the BFG next year. It's like Steven Spielberg's name is not allowed anywhere on the trailers or the movie or anything. It'll just be at the end when it says directed by Steven Spielberg. The trailers won't make any reference to Spielberg's history. It'll just be, here's the BFG, you know, from Roald Dahl's book. There'll be no mention of Spielberg. Which, if you look at every single Spielberg film or film that he's produced, he normally gets mentioned. It's that sort of deal. Konami's being stupid about it. I'm not surprised. Speaking of stupid, number 3 on the docket, Mortal Kombat X. And the PC absolute kerfuffle, debacle, and anything else in all ends in all. So, game comes out to pretty good reviews from those that somehow reviewed it before the game came out. So then when it comes to the PC version, people boot it up and 90% of the stuff isn't loaded because they're using some new system where stuff sort of gets patched in rather than just being there as a base game. Everything's loaded in as DLC, even though none of it is DLC. Well, that's the irony. All the DLC didn't show up, and all the main game was locked as DLC, but couldn't be unlocked even though it was. You know, the PC launch was an absolute travesty. And then the patch happened. So, last week, a patch went live to fix lots of issues. I think there was a massive memory leak. People were having connection problems with online. People were still having problems unlocking certain stuff in their system on the PC. So they released a patch that's 15 gigabytes in size. You know, I'm trying to think. 15 gigabytes is probably about the size of a DVD. From what I can, well... Yeah, it actually might be, because I think the GTA install was on 7 discs. So it's at least 1 or 2 discs, let's say, equivalent of data. So I think it can hold like 7 gig, like a DVD disc. Regardless. It was there, it was done, and everything was fine with the world. Until 2 minutes later when people applied it to find out their entire game saves had been deleted. And the great thing was, the guys handling the PC version didn't know why it happened. So immediately, they gave out another patch of 15 gigabytes, basically to roll it back to what it was before the patch. They've now introduced a patch which seems to have fixed those issues, but those people who did install the first patch still have not been able to recover their save games all these things that they've unlocked in the crypt with the crypt coins, or all their crypt coins altogether. I don't know whether any sort of compensation has been issued for this, but yeah, it might make you think next time, Warner Brothers, not to sort of screw things up in terms of your DLC and also caring for PC users. You know, I find it farcical that if you want to get the Xbox One and PS4 versions, it's still like £30 or £40 on Amazon. The PC version is $15. There you go. And then, next up, I'm going to be pretentious at you. Why? Because that's what the Splatoon Direct video was. You know, I just want to show my utter contempt for this video. Now, I get it. You're trying to get people hyped for the game. But you're talking about it in such a way that the people you're openly targeting, because you're saying you want Splatoon to be an e-sport. So, in your video, which is like self-referential parody thing, here's a scientist giving his lecture, I think for all three versions in American, Japan and Europe. The Europe one being especially the worst. There's a reason why it's on that finger. You know, it was like, I'm Dr. Arthur Pod. You know, and here are my assistants, Starling, and, you know, Mr. Seahorse. It was just like fish, aquatic puns throughout the whole thing. You know, halfway through I was basically going, and then all of a sudden, oh, here's a musical interlude because my son liked it. It was some singing that went for 30 seconds, and I'm like, what is that? Why is it even there? Is it supposed to be an entertaining break? No. It's just utterly brr. And then the other thing is, oh, well, they announced a global multiplayer demo thing, which is only up for 1 day, which I don't have an issue with. If it's up there for a day, it's okay. But it wasn't. It was up for 3 hours. And no, it wasn't 3 hours together. It was 3 one-hour slots. I guess to cater to everybody in the world. But the idea is, you need everybody playing roughly at the same time to try and get a gauge of how many people you are going to have on your service in order to stress test it. So why the hell are you putting it on between 4 and 5 in the morning, either for Pacific time, or for UK time, or for Japanese time? Because then you are completely ruining it. Now, if you have it at, let's say, I'm trying to think, 8 or 9 Pacific, which equates to 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, UK time, then you're going to have the most people playing on it, because you did this beta on a Saturday. You know, most people don't go to school on a Saturday. There's probably quite some that do, but most don't. So that would really stress test your game enough so that when it comes out at the end of May, the servers aren't going to go down because they can't cope with the demand. If it happens, you heard it here probably first, unless somebody else has ranted on it, which I don't think they have. You know, it looks like a good concept of the game. You know, it's a paintball thing. It's got your first-person shooter sort of elements. It's sort of got, you know, mapping to try and get as much of the terrain, so it encourages people moving about. You know, no camping or anything. But when you do it in such a way that clearly is only targeting itself to under 12s, which is an irony because at least in the UK it's a PEGI 7. So if you're under the age of 7, you shouldn't be playing the game. Unless a parent thinks that you can cope with, you know, exploding squid. which, if considering how dark some of the stuff goes in, PG films, or films for kids 8 and over, somehow some sinister stuff it can be. I wouldn't say it's entirely a great move. And, I hope it does well. But the way that they're stressing it's going to be the new esport that everybody wants to play, there may be an issue with that, Nintendo. I don't think there's enough consoles in the world to justify that. The League of Legends streams that are happening over this weekend have got like 300,000 people. I think Nintendo can only dream of 300,000 people playing on Splatoon at any one time. I don't think that's going to be a console shifter, to be honest. The longer and longer you have to wait for Legend of Zelda, the longer and longer it will be until Nintendo needs to move on to the next console. The next console comes out within like the next year or so of the Wii U. You know that console was a failure. Just saying. Next up, mods on Steam, which came up, I think, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Actually, it might be 2-3 weeks ago. So, we had Steam randomly come along and say, right, we are now introducing mods officially on our store page for many games, but starting from this today, which I think was Thursday, we are using mods for Skyrim. And, it was pretty nice. Only issue being, those mods are available elsewhere for free. And people were objecting to the fact that why should we be paying for mods when they should be free? Which I sort of get, but I think there needs to be some financial compensation to the people that make these, because they put in quite a lot of time and effort into what goes on here. The only issue is, if you look at the details of the contract, which was, I think, made public on from various people mentioning it in interviews and whatever, Steam and Bethesda, in that essence, was taking 70% of the credit. I think it was like 40 to Bethesda, which is fair because it's their game, 30 to Steam, which is why I need to get rid of this spider. That was useful. And then 30 to the content creator. My issue is, why does Steam need to take a cut? It's not their game, and technically you don't even have to use their service because of the free mod versions that are available on the internet. It's it's unfair for such a big cut of it to go to Steam. If it was somewhere in the region of like 5 to 10, it would be much better. Plus, I think if modders even set up like their own sort of donate thing or pay what you want method on their own modding sites, I think you would see people willing to chip in a little bit of money, but not like a full $5 for a sword. Yeah, and that was one of the other issues. You had $5 for a sword, and then like, oh, make all the water look like urine in the game for $100. They were some unnecessary ones. Plus, in a really dodgy move, some people were taking other people's mods and putting them on Steam as them, so they were getting some of the money. And a lot of people have said that what should have happened is you take various mods here and there that people are fond of, try and gang together and bring them up like as a bundle. It's like you can download these 5 mods separately, or you can go on Steam and for $10 you can have them all in one bundle just for ease of use. But no, that was too easy. So Steam eventually was like, well, you know, if there's you know, it's not our thing to deal with. Well, you're the guys that launched the service that did it. And then when people were saying, well, what if the mods are acting up and being problematic, Steam nonchalantly said, well, you better get in touch with them then. Which is fair, but again, it's on your service. If you go to a mod that's being actually updated and whatever for free, and the paid version isn't, because they're not getting as much as a cut as they could be if they're doing an open donation thing on their own page, you can see why Steam pulled it. That needs work. That needs work and input from everybody involved. Customers, creators, developers, and Steam, before you execute any of it. Hopefully they're learning their lesson now. But, yeah, we'll have to see when they launch it again and everything's overpriced. Probably. And then finally, in some happier news, Playtonic, the guys that used to be from Rare, doing, you know, great games like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Diddy Kong Racing, all those sort of games, brought up their new Kickstarter for their new project, because it was openly announced that they were working on something. They didn't disclose what until I think it was a week on Thursday, and they said it's entitled Youka-Laylee, and the Kickstarter will be going live on Friday the 1st of May. So it did. And they were looking for, I think, £175,000 in order to get the game done. And I would say that it's somewhat of a success, because that £175,000 goal was reached in 40 minutes. Yep. That quick. And in the space of 3 days, they made £1 million. 3 days, £1 million. And it's just great to see, because even from the little sort of demo reel that they've shown, this looks like an incredible game. You know, I will be honest, and possibly towards the end of this month, I will be probably backing this project. Just having a quick look at it, actually, see if anything's been added since I last looked. I don't think so, but yeah, so because of that, a whole load of stretch goals had to be added in. So with the stretch goals, there's going to be a unique boss battle on every level, a pre-final boss quiz show challenge level, which is obviously playing to the fact of that was in Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. Transformations into unexpected things, a la Banjo, a mix of 2.5D and 3D minecart games, a local co-op body mode, 2 to 4 player local multiplayer versus mode, professional translations for the French, German, Spanish and Italian markets, extra character designs from ex-Rare artists, yet more multiplayer stuff added. Because they reached 1 million in 3 days, the game will be coming out on PC, Mac, Linux, as well as Wii U, Xbox One and PS4 on the same day as launch when it comes. I believe they're sort of estimating some point in the fall of next year. There will also be an N64 shader mode with a GK rap and video with Grant Kirkhope, so I guess that's trying to be like the Donkey Kong rap. There will also be a developer walkthrough and commentary video, and then close to its end funding, an orchestral score will be provided if it reaches 1.5 million, which, considering it is currently at 1.4 million, or 1,482,462, it's only about 18,000 away from that goal. And they've said that anything raised beyond the 1.5 million will basically make the game look and be even better. But, you know, they can't give any away anymore because they honestly didn't think they were going to be getting 1.5 million when they were only looking for 175,000. So that is something that you should consider backing. In terms of if you just want the basic version, which will be a digital download, I think for the PC version, Steam Digital Edition will cost you about $15 or £10. And for a console digital edition, you can get it for about $24 or £15. But yeah, it's that impressive what they're offering. Blimey. And even an exclusive Youka-Laylee t-shirt. I'm contemplating stuff. I have to work out what I'm going to do with this. So yeah, there you go. That's a smorgasbord. There might be another one coming up whatsoever. And yeah, I think next week we need to discuss press conferences, because E3's coming and I'm going to die. Thanks, E3. What? Oh my god. They've seen it. I've just got an email from Konami. We'd like to pay you off and stop bashing them by giving you a free copy of every single game we've ever made. Well, you made that crappy Castlevania on the N64, so no.